Loads of people are off to Cheltenham. I see where Joe Seward, sports journalist, who's on with us from time to time, gone off today for first time, his 30th or 40th time off to Cheltenham. But what about going to Cheltenham in Spain? Like in Benidorm or Tenerife or Lanzarote? Flying over, bunch of lads, commandeer a pub for the few days, watch the races, and I know in many of the places in the Canaries, at least, I don't know about the other places, they'll actually have a bookie in the pub, so you can bet on site. And it's getting very, very popular. Eoghan Corry, of editor Air and Travel magazine, joins me. It's not new, but it's becoming more and more popular, Eoghan. Good morning to you.
Yes, good morning, PJ. Yeah, anywhere Irish people go, there's on holidays, they're not going to be changing the habits they have at home. So every publican in Ireland knows what happens during Cheltenham week. It's a good idea to have a big screen, to have the gang of lads inside and girls, arguing over who's going to win the next race. The Spanish publicans just saw this happening. There's the demand for this, and they've come in on the act, and screen outdoors in the sunshine is a lot more pleasant than what usually happens in March in Ireland.
It's very affordable for people too. I hear some great deals this week.
Certainly, it's a great time to travel, and I'll tell you why. The hotels are relatively empty. The big markets aren't moving. There isn't a real reason in March for the big markets like Germany, Britain and France to travel in numbers. But the hoteliers and the airlines watches, the midterm breaks, things like that, usually, although they're staggered from country to country, usually they're over by now. So the first week in March, you're looking for any sort of reason to get tourists out. Cheltenham is something that nobody in Europe knows anything about. It's very much British, Irish and occasional French horse. But the Spanish, very glick, very up to the game, said, here's a great idea. Let's get the Irish to come out here to watch Cheltenham rather than at home. And it's working out fairly well. The airfare is good. The hotels are good. It's also good next week, by the way, because we have the luxury of a bank holiday that no other country has. It means that we get the school break or the extra day, and we can travel out at a time that we're not competing for those beds with Germany, Britain, and France, and this with mainland Spain. And it's all supply and demand. If we're the only ones with a big demand, the supply side is very strong. You're going to get better prices, PJ.
I'm a fairly frequent visitor to Lanzarote, as anybody knows, and there's a few places that I go over there, and I even get Facebook messages during the week, are you coming for Cheltenham? Do you want to hold a table? Like, it's that organised.
Really organised. They know, they saw what's going on. Cheltenham is a bit of an obsession in Ireland. Quite interesting how all of that happened, because it wasn't in the early days, but certainly since the 1970s, it's become something that almost brings the week to the halt. It would be bigger, oddly enough, than our own big National Festival in Punchestown in terms of the interest that it generates up and down the country. And there's always this big thing, will we have more winners than the English? And of course we will. We're going to have more again this year.
I don't think you'd ever see it here, but it's totally not unusual to have a bookie actually in the pub on the forecourt with all their gear, taking bets. It's great.
Yeah, drink and gambling are generally separated legally, so it varies very much from country to country and from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. And I often wonder about the whole dynamic of that. Yeah. But there's no shortage of access to a bookie. It's nowadays online, even if there isn't one situated in the pub. So that whole thing, when the legislation was changed in 1963, I think it was, there was a very strong thing that you don't mix drink and gambling, as you know, and listeners will know. If you go online to buy a lottery ticket even late at night, there are restrictions on it. But
things are not quite the same. Things are not quite the same on the Avadilla Les Players. Let's just say
but in
that.
the days of social media, it doesn't make much difference now anyway.
Come here to me, Eoghan. One or two things while I have you there. I know that you wrote about this on your website, and you questioned Michael Leary about it at a press conference. This thing about your boarding pass, not print, they've rolled back on that, Ryanair have.
I don't think it was very realistic to implement it for summer. For this reason only, PJ, the number of passengers goes up by about 30-40% during the summer months compared with the winter months. And if you're going to do a big change, and this is as big a change as it comes, why bring it in summer? Yeah. Like they have 200 million passengers a year, and more than 140 million of them fly during the summer. So why don't you wait till November when the numbers are a bit smaller, and then you can work out what happens, what goes wrong along the way. Yeah. It would be pretty chaotic. Michael O'Leary's very gung ho on this. My last exchange was at Destinations. I was moderating a panel at the Destinations Conference, Destinations World Leaders Forum in Dublin, and I asked him about this, and he was very gung-ho, saying, yes, the older people are well able to handle mobile phones. You see them all the time using their mobile phones. And I put through in the little line, you haven't met my Auntie May, to which he responded, yes, I have. I've checked her in personally. But that's Michael.
That's Michael.
But the thing is that you don't go from 80% to 100% easily. No. Because the last 20% are going to be of a certain demographic.
I mean, you just take our family own. I've been using my mobile phone for as long as I could to do my but my wife hates the idea of using her mobile phone for that. And do you know?
I have a daughter who cried when her Nokia with the buttons on it gave up because she had resisted getting a smartphone for years and years and years. There are people who are unhappy with it, don't trust it, but he wants everyone booking in on the app. It's not even. What's
his problem with you printing it off at home or and work and bringing it? Like, I don't get his problem, but then again he just wants it done.
It makes things more efficient at the airport. All he's looking at is the cost of doing business. He is obsessive about reducing the cost by as much as possible. That's why he puts in those baggage charges, were really because the cost of handling the bags is more than they get back in the baggage fees. He just wants fewer costs. It also goes to the airports. When he's negotiating with Cork Airport, he cuts a really hard deal with them. He's a very, very hard man to deal with because he delivers all these passengers, but he looks for so many things. So, and he does, in fairness, pass the savings on to the consumer.
He does,
Not all business models do that.
He does,
and that's why you get low fares. Now, this thing of the boarding pass, I think there's going to be another complication, PJ. I think that the regulators will step in and say, you can't do this. There are people who really can't man up, and you can't penalise them for not being able to. And there are countries that won't take it as well. One or two countries he goes into that won't take it. I'll leave it there for no reason.